Talk about, and another political convention. Yet, oddly enough, there are different twists to both this time. So, this will be interesting to talk about, if nothing else. So, let's get it started. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, and I got nothing this time.
Fair enough. So, let's get started. Welcome to Micah and The Hatman on Politics, live. Alright. So, one thing many of you will notice is that the donation goal is a little different. So, you might be asking, what does that mean? Well, it has been 4 years since we started this podcast. I'm going to reposition my camera so I can look down at all of you people. But,
well, technically not this one, the Micah and The Hatman podcast, but not the politics one.
Yeah. Politics actually ended up starting a little bit later.
Yeah.
At a request of the chat. Because there was so much politics stuff that tended to bleed into the main podcast. It's like, why don't we just start a politics one? Fuck it. You know, if people watch, they'll watch. If not, they don't. And more weeks than not, this is the more popular of the two. So that's an interesting bit, at least to me. So let's roll with the Kenosha riots. So this is another instance of a police-involved shooting that just the mere existence of it caused the riot to happen.
Yeah.
And from what we know now of what happened is that there was a warrant out for the gentleman who was shot's arrest.
Mm-hmm.
And they attempted to tase him when he resisted. And what ended up happening was it didn't work. He got into his vehicle and armed himself with a knife. And the cops shot him. And now he is paralyzed from the waist down.
Mm-hmm.
And we will talk about the Rittenhauser, the Kyle Rittenhouse thing here in a minute, guys.
Yes, we will.
We're gonna let us segue into stuff.
Yeah.
So actually, let me say this: we have been doing this for 4 years. I don't think we've ever missed a hot button political topic on this show.
No, not really.
Come on, guys.
Unless it was a week that we had off.
Yeah.
And for most of them, we still covered it anyway.
Give us a little credit. that we're going to cover. Just that much. Just a little bit.
Just wink.
You always underestimate me, man. And I'm talking to the chat, not you, Hatman.
Don't underestimate my power.
Yeah. Like, come on, guys. Give me a little credit. I think I've earned it. But anyway. So, what we saw next, of course, was rioting.
As usual at this point.
Yeah. Though this is the first time that a riot has happened, to my knowledge, in a red district. Those who don't know, Kenosha is within a red county. And what ended up happening next was kind of surprising. Is that there were armed civilians that went out to defend businesses, and obviously conflict happened. Now, the reaction to this has been, the actual rioting has been minimalized because of controversies therein. And that, of course, segues us into the Rittenhouse shooting.
Mm.
So who is Kyle Rittenhouse, you might wonder? Kyle is a young man from here in Illinois, 17 years old. Lives
that's important.
Yeah, lives in the Chicago area, if I recall correctly, around in the northern suburbs. So he's from my neck of the woods. Well, my original neck of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Though I was a south suburbs kid. I'm from the Heights. But oh, we have money.
We have money.
Call of the Night donated $1, says, wasn't the guy also a pedophile? Well, we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, we'll
little
get
bit of
to
credit.
it. Don't worry.
A little bit of credit. Little bit. Come on. But anyway. Now I was on a live stream last night with that Umbrella guy and Liam Gray, and we discussed this a bit. And we were trying to do a bit of a breakdown of the shooting, but Liam, because he likes to monologue and interrupt people, he just kept doing that over and over again while we were trying to break the whole thing down. It's like, Jesus Christ, Liam, save the monologue for later. But anyway, the love Liam to death, but nah, he monologues a little too much. But anyway, how this whole thing went down is that Rittenhouse, in real life, and this is what I got from digging, is he is a young man. He's a big police supporter, wants to become a cop himself.
Yep.
And despite what members of the media tried to say, he is not alt-right. At least there is not indication that he is. Or
there is
white
no
nationalist
evidence
or
whatsoever.
supremacist. You know, at least not that I have seen is there any indication that he holds those beliefs. Basically, he has been smeared as such because of police support.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I have noticed is that a lot of people who have looked at this or that are also in the media gave those who were smearing him a pretty big railing, mostly because Nick Sandman exists, and you need to keep that in mind if you're in the media.
Truth.
So the Ghost, no, he's not a black. The shooter was not a Black Lives Matter supporter. He was a Blue Lives Matter supporter, which is a pro cop group. But anyway, but he went basically to Kenosha to defend property, specifically a car dealership. The police knew he was there. He had spoken with them earlier in the night. This is according to a breakdown of several videos and done by several sources, including the New York Times, which that becomes interesting. The way that the shooting plays out when the shots actually start being fired is the young man is attacked. Some guy tries to hit him with a skateboard, and then another guy goes up to him with his hands up like, don't shoot me, and then he reaches. The skateboard guy got shot. I'm sorry, the skateboard guy gets shot first in the torso, so center mass. The second guy, when he reaches for his gun after trying to fake the guy out, and he's even, and the guy who was shot in the arm, by the way, because that's where he was shot. It was a disabling shot. The guy who pulled the weapon admitted on Facebook after he went to the hospital that he had intended to kill the young man.
Yep.
So that's going to pop up in court.
Yep.
From there, and I'll be reading donations after we're done talking about the Rittenhouse thing, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. Afterwards, he fled from the mob, and as they chased him, another a white man, a bald white man with a goatee, who is the pedo that people mentioned or rumored. Tug and I looked it up last night. We had a hard time finding the guy in any databases. So
your timeline is backwards, by the way. The bald guy was shot first.
He was shot first? Okay.
He was shot first, and he was the one who was shot in the head. And then
he was shot multiple times in the head to finish.
Yes.
Because basically what happens is he charges Rittenhouse and starts saying, shoot me, N-word, shoot me.
Yep.
And Rittenhouse turns and fires 4 rounds. Three from his hip, and hits him center mass, and then aims and then shoots the guy in the head because he kept coming, and that killed him. Yeah. So.
Tried to grab his gun. From what New York Times videos show, another shot was fired before Rittenhouse pulled the trigger. So that may have also been part of the inciting incident.
Yes,
but from there he fled and he was chased, and that's when skateboard guy and Glock guy got shot.
Yeah.
But that's
Rittenhouse
the timeline.
Afterwards went back home, and then when he found out that there was a warrant out for his arrest, he turned himself in.
Yep.
So there is something to mention here. This is obviously a clean shoot because there were people trying to harm him. They had the sole purpose of, and one of them even admits, had the purpose of murdering him.
Yes.
That is going to likely get him acquitted in court. Like I said, this is a red county.
Yeah. This is not a. They were chasing him down because he was a felon, and they wanted to apprehend him. Fucking Vouch, you disingenuous fuck.
Well, he's a communist. He always lies.
Of course. But this is not a situation where they're going to apprehend a felon. They're defending themselves. No, sorry, no, none of that was an offensive shooting.
Yeah,
it was all defensive.
Exactly,
all defensive.
He was on his heels the entire time. And I see the donation. We will get to that here in a second. Now. The representation is that he is going to be getting is the same lawyer who represented Nick Sandmann. And they have opened, there is a legal defense fund on the website of the lawyer. Let me pull it up real quick in case any of you guys want to donate to it. Let's see here. This is according to the Columbus Dispatch. Lawyer Elwyn Wood said he helped form the foundation with the mission to protect and defend our Constitution on many fronts, and the foundation is called the Fight Back Foundation. And their website is just fightback.law. If one of my mods, if you're here, could put that in the chat in case anybody wants to have a look at it, that would be greatly appreciated. But fightback.law is the website of Rittenhouse's lawyer. Again, it's the same person who represented Nick Sandmann in his several lawsuits, and he has basically said he will be taking the case pro bono, but it's still going to cost money. So if you want to help out with that, that's how you do it. So
there's a clickable link.
Now, likely there will be one guilty plea in this, and the lawyer will probably advise him to do so. He's 17.
Yep.
That rifle is not his. Most likely, it was likely purchased. It's partly considered a family weapon, but his father or mother probably owns that rifle.
He's got two things against him: unlawful possession of a firearm because he's underage, and then transporting over state lines.
Yeah.
And because Illinois,
well, he's being tried in Wisconsin.
Is Wisconsin's transportation laws worse than Illinois?
No.
That's what I want to know.
No. Illinois are far worse. Again, all Illinois law is focused 100% on Chicago.
I wonder if he could be charged in Illinois as well too.
For moving it out of the state, no.
Well, for bringing it back into the state unlawfully.
No, it's that.
It'd be dubious, but I wouldn't.
That's a flimsy case. They're not gonna waste their fucking time. Even with, like, if he lived in Chicago proper, Kim Fox would likely come after him. He doesn't. He lives in Antioch,
he wouldn't even be able to own it.
Yeah.
If he lived in Chicago proper, no way.
Yeah. Wouldn't be if he lived in Chicago proper. It wouldn't be legal for him to have that rifle in the first place because it's a gun-free zone. So or so they say. There's more guns in Chicago than any other part of the state. But anyway,
funny that. But no, those are the only things that he could eat charges for. Everything else is just conjecture. And a murder one also.
So murder one is premeditated murder.
Yeah. Or I believe in this case it's murder one as intentional homicide.
Yeah. And
for the bald dude.
Yeah. And they have to prove that he and this is the thing about that sort of a charge. And we've mentioned this before. I've discussed this with lawyers before too. Anytime that somebody is charged with murder one, the burden of proof on you as the prosecutor is to prove motive and intent. That there was motive to go there to kill a specific individual. He is not guilty of murder. He's not even guilty of manslaughter. You know, every single person within that group who came after him had the intention of killing him. One of them even confessed
you can hear it on
that
video.
On social media. On top of that, and by the way, I just want to say to whoever when the guy put that on social media, somebody replied, or there were apparently a bunch of replies of memes of the guy getting shot. So to you guys who replied to that, God bless you, because fuck Antifa. Seriously. Okay, reading donations
Balls.
real quick. Changa says if the convicted convict hit the kid with a metal skateboard, would he still get wrecked? It's the intent, Changus. And if you meant that as a joke, it was a bad one. Sorry. And the servant says the rumored pedo was seemingly nicknamed JoJo, so everyone knows. Huh? Okay, everybody's jokes are flat today. You gotta step up your game, people. So, before we start moving into RNC discussion, one thing I want to say is that one second. Yeah.
Bless.
Thank you. This is a reaction. The whole Rittenhouse situation. This and what's it? The guy who is suing the state of Washington and the city of Seattle for his son being murdered execution style in Chaz Chop, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
He's suing for $3 billion. And it's likely that he will win the lawsuit. Or at least it's going to be settled out of court. Because he's dead on to sue them for the loss of his son. Because they are responsible for it. Had they not allowed that Chaz to happen, the shooting would have never happened. Had they not allowed it to happen, had they actually done something about it earlier, his kid wouldn't be dead. And because Chaz exists, guess what? Emergency services couldn't go in there. It's an autonomous zone. There's no government. So, this is a reaction to what is going on. If you continue to let people burn down businesses and private property, private citizens are going to grab weapons and they're going to fight back. And then after the dust settles and after the ashes are there, somebody's going to want somebody to pay. You're going to see more lawsuits. You're going to see more citizens in these cities grab arms and fight because the government is doing nothing in many of these areas. They're just letting it happen for whatever reason. So this is what's going to happen. But the big thing and the big reaction is going to be when people go to the polls and when they vote. I saw a Democrat advocate on Twitter even put out there that the riots post the death of MLK are part of what won Richard Nixon the election when he ran for president. So imagine when half the country's been lit on fire by rioters. Trump could win this walking away.
And then more riots would happen.
Yeah, and they're going to have to be prepared for it.
Absolutely.
So the RNC. So this was much more happy than the DNC.
It was.
I have to say, I have one criticism of it before we get into the happy stuff. Not a lot of discussion on policy and where policy was going to go. A lot of it was feel-good speeches, but also cultural-oriented speeches. On one hand, it is a good thing that conservatives and conservatism is starting to realize that there is a need to discuss the culture. On the other hand, you have to talk about how you're going to change things. Because I don't think that there's enough people out there that think that the government is some sort of magical wish granting dragon or some bullshit. So, at least I don't think that everybody's necessarily that partisan. Well, Steven Crowder is, because he probably put out one of the silliest tweets that I've seen, like, lately. And I thought that there was a libertarian on Twitter that countered it perfectly. So here's what Steven Crowder says. He says, you commit a crime, any crime, you are no longer being peaceful. And said libertarian goes, violently fishing without a license. Yeah. That be how it goes. Like, so just this, I'm going to tell everybody this right now. Do not allow yourself to become hyper partisan. It's not fucking worth it.
No, it's not.
Because when the group that you're partisan for fucks up, you got nowhere to go. So, anyway, the good thing about this is that there was a lot of focus on what the bullshit is going on within our culture and how the narratives are not true. And what Donald Trump did is he put together a group of speakers to go up there and talk that proved, and by the way, from all walks, that proved that the narratives were not true. You know? And it was smart strategy, politically speaking. It was a smart strategy to have black conservatives go up and speak, and other people who come from more diverse backgrounds to go up and speak about the one particular thing that patriotism, nationalism, and these sorts of concepts have in common, especially when it comes to this country, and that is the belief in American exceptionalism, which is something that is the big foundational difference between the current Republican Party and the current Democrat Party. The current Democratic Party believes that the United States is, by its very nature, racist, sexist, bigoted, homophobic, blah, blah, blah. The Anita Sarkeesian checklist.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, it must be destroyed, or it must be remade, in the words of Barack Obama, restructured, so on and so forth. Depends on who you talk to. The right, the conservatives, I should say specifically, conservatives, Republicans, they believe that America is at its core good. And because it is at its core good, then it is something that must be defended, and it is something that even now, after having existed for a couple hundred years, still has potential to get even better as a country. And it is that belief that, that they wanted to emphasize. Because this is one thing that a lot of people have noticed about the culture in general, and why the over-politicization, or I should say over-politicization from the left in the media, in what else? In entertainment and all these other places. The reason that people are lashing out against it is because they don't identify with it. There are certain uniting principles
mm-hmm.
that Americans believe in. and that is, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are bestowed by their creator inalienable rights, or the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Or in the Constitution, it says the rights of life, liberty, and property. You know, that is what we believe as a country. You know, or at least that's the American belief. All right, donation here from Servant says, Rachel Maddow was crying while trying to cut in and fact check. Funny from someone who claims that the Alex Jones defense, that she's basically an actor talking nonsense. Yeah, that defense doesn't work if you're on a major network. But anyway. But because we all agree with those things, there are certain things that we have problems with. Destruction of property, murder, so on and so forth. A good law. I said this months ago because we were constantly having discussions about law on the podcast. A good law should be based on the concept of protecting the rights of the individual or bringing balance to the proverbial scales when a right has been violated, and one of those rights of life, liberty, or property. So, and I honestly believe that if you can't argue for, you know, a law fitting into any of those categories, it shouldn't be a law.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's the libertarian part of me talking. So, you know, the focus on American exceptionalism, I think, was smart. Because what that's going to do is it's going to win over independents. And independent voters are going to make or break this election. Because in the polls, Trump and Biden are pretty even right now. Now, given how you can't really trust the polls because of the 2016 election, I would say that if they're tied pretty much dead even in the polls, that basically means that Trump's going to walk away with a victory because there's a lot of people not talking who are going to vote for him. You know, the whole silent majority thing. So this is this was overall, I think, a pretty good convention. Hatman, what did you think of it?
It's weird how the messages that seem to be all doom and gloom under any other circumstances, that the left wants you disarmed, the left wants to remove all safety rails, i.e. the police. They are going to take away health care, livelihoods, they want riots to happen, etc. All that was still backed up by because they hate this country, because they do not agree with the concept of American exceptionalism, because they fundamentally do not respect the ideals that America was founded upon. And that sounds like rain. I might have to go roll the windows up on my car. Yep. Be right back. I'm going to go roll the windows up in my car because I'm stupid.
So there's something that I have to do. Because Hatman did something silly. Everyone shame to Hatman!
Shame! 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 Shame!
I'm gonna be honest with you. I I'm kind of retarded.
So yeah.
Yeah. Keeping your windows down in the summertime is stupid, apparently.
Very.
Well, my car doesn't have air conditioning, so it's either burn or give it an inside bath. But anyway, yeah, the doom and gloom was still punctuated by the idea that America is better, America can be better, and if we want those ideals from our founding that makes America such a special and exceptional nation to remain, then we have to defeat the menace of the people who wish to fundamentally transform the country into a mere shadow of its former self. And I think that kind of punctuates the difference between conservatism and progressivism. Can I say the Democrats have adopted something of a progressive platform finally?
I would definitely say that that's a pretty fair assessment.
My camera's gone apparently. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm fixing it right now. So I've got your avatar up.
Okay.
I can still see you in the Hangouts window.
I see it. I see it still working. So, oh well. I was wondering if it was an issue with my tech, because this is where my microphone is too. So, Steve left my windows down. No, that was me, because my car doesn't have air conditioning, so I leave the windows down so it's not a hot mess by the time I get back and completely unbearable. But it seems like every time I actually leave my windows down thinking it's not going to rain, it rains. And just as quickly as it came, it's gone. Are you shitting me?
Yeah, just a cloudburst, I guess.
God damn it. Somebody shot a fucking cloud right above me. Steve. Fucking Steve. I blame Steve for that.
So I'm definitely going to have to fix some stuff after we're done with politics, because OBS is fucking up apparently. But
Wonderful.
Yeah. So I have to figure out how to unfuck this later. So
it's called the South. Yes, I know. The weather is ridiculously bipolar here. It makes no sense. Micah, apparently I'm supposed to ask you to fix the weather for me using your magical Jew powers.
The Jew phone is down at the moment, so
Damn.
I can't make that call. Oh goodness. Oh well. So well, let's go ahead and move into the Q&A. A lot of things are being goofy right now. By the way, we have 66 people in here right now and only 29 likes. So if you enjoyed the show so far, please hit that like button. Don't be Steve.
Motherfucker.
Okay. So let's get started. From the Patrons Discord, Genghis Khan wants to know, what is a good gun for first-time gun owners? So I can fulfill my purpose as a rooftop Korean. For a handgun, you can't go wrong with a Glock 17. And for a long rifle, you can't go wrong with an AR-15. But one thing that I will
So
advise you on, you're going to have to clean both of them fairly off. Well, you're going to have to definitely clean the AR regularly because the gas
yeah,
chamber gets dirty way too easy.
yeah.
On the flip side, the Glock, you don't have to clean that often, maybe once a month.
Unless you use hotter ammo with it. If you're using like 124, 147 grain, you need to clean that basically every time you shoot it.
Yep.
Because in my experience, it affects performance. So my recommendations for a concealed gun. Now I recommend a SIG P365. For a full-size handgun, either a SIG P320 or a Glock 19, just because that's a little bit smaller than a 17, and also 17 magazines will work in a 19. So you got that. There's also plenty of accessories for it. Rifles, yeah, you can't go wrong with an AR, but good luck finding one for a decent price nowadays. Specific brand for a starter one, M&P Sport is a good one. And for a shotgun, get a Mossberg. I don't care what kind of Maverick 88, a 500, 590, get a Mossberg. Do not buy a Remington if it was made after 2007 because it's going to be a piece of shit.
Yeah.
How about a Colt Python? Yeah, if you've got fucking $2,000 lying around, sure.
Yeah, if you got $2,000 lying around and you like reloading like Revolver Ocelot. Like
I mean,
that's part of the
Python's
reason
a
why
good gun.
Hatman and I use semi-autos.
I mean, I love revolvers, don't get me wrong, but there's a time and place for them, and it's called the range.
Yeah. Whereas, like, the Glock that I own, it's 15 rounds of fuck you, you know, and a pretty decent fire rate, and a higher muzzle velocity, too. So, again, the Beretta is a mean weapon.
Berettas are good too. You've all seen this before. It's been cleared. Don't
I
worry.
can't see you at all. Remember?
Well, you can hear it. The SIG SP 2022. This is like your entry level full size SIG. You shouldn't see it for more than $500. It's good. It's a good shooter, and it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yep. Somebody said, how do we like Ruger? Ruger revolvers are solid. I don't think I've shot anything else from them. No, I don't think I've shot anything else from them. Smith & Wesson 500 best gun. Jesus Christ. Do you know the only person who's actually been killed by a Smith & Wesson 500 was through accidental discharge?
I've heard that, yeah.
And it was in Wilmington. It was in this state.
Nah.
It was at a range that I'd actually been to before.
So Gajira says if you
Very
need more than
unfortunate.
6 shots to save your life, the extra rounds won't save you. Save the kid in Kenosha.
Yeah, well, statistically, most of the time you are going to shoot no more than 6 shots
Usually.
at somebody. Yeah,
That's on
statistically,
average.
again. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Next up.
Let's see here. Servant of God asks something that we kind of already touched on, so we're going to answer it very briefly. Scale of 1 to short bus. How dumb is it for the Dems to let the riots happen in the places they run? Short bus.
Yep.
Xenonick wants to know, due to what's happened, how long do you think it'll be before Democrats are able to win an election? 2024. Or 2022. You never know what's going to happen within a 2-year span.
Yeah. Yeah, you really don't.
Here's something to keep in mind. What has pulled Biden out of the lead are 2 specific things. The riots and Kamala Harris. If he had picked Tulsi Gabbard, and condemn the riots earlier,
He'd
Biden
have
would
a
be doing a
significant
lot
lead.
better in the polls.
He'd have a significant lead.
Yeah. Because the strategy from the Democrats thus far has been only put him out there when we have to.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're trying to avoid the debates. And it's a sound strategy. It works. They're gonna try to use COVID as best they can.
Mm-hmm.
So yes. It's not really, never assume victory forever.
No. Mm-mm.
Holy Ninja says, thoughts on Thomas Sowell's, or Sowell's theory in Black Rednecks, White Liberals, that the urban black culture in the inner city originated with cracker culture of the antebellum South, which actually finds its origins in Britain, and it's actually true. I believe it 100%. It's more of a culture that is based around economic wealth or lack thereof. And that's largely what a lot of his points end up being in that, is that the more educated that you become and the more wealth you have, you act different, the culture you adhere to is different, so on and so forth. You act classy, you know.
Yeah.
The poor tend to be more promiscuous. The poor tend to be more rude, things along those lines,
The trashy stereotype.
Yeah. And it exists for all races. That's also what you're really going to start noticing when you look around you is when you get to the part of the book where he starts talking about the middleman minority. So let me know when you get there. Chaos Sonic says, throws in a buck and says, thoughts on a Republican lawmaker making a law to ban rioters from getting unemployment checks and benefits. That's assuming you're going to be able to find everybody who's rioting. So,
yeah. That's. I mean, they'd have to be charged with it.
Yeah. Again, the police aren't doing enough to arrest these people.
No, I mean, what was it, like only 70 some arrests in Portland?
Yeah.
I mean, they should have way more than that. Way more. There's no excuse.
Yep.
But
okay, let's see what the chat says. So, Swordsman asks, thoughts on Shoe on Head becoming a commie? I'm not surprised. She was always very left-leaning. She was a Bernie bro.
Are any of y'all surprised?
Again,
like for real?
Bernie bro. This is like when people surprised about fucking TJ Kirk being a commie. Like, Bernie bro.
She was left-wing during fucking Gamergate. Like, made that very clear. I mean, just because she criticizes some of the more extreme parts of the left doesn't make her any less left.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it's not a surprise at all.
So, in the words of the legendary Nate Diaz, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers. Crystal Hydra wants to know, when all the woke nonsense is finally defeated, what steps do you think we should take to prevent the political situation from ever getting this bad again? Look at the warning signs and don't hire people who are social justice warriors. Tell them they got to grow up first.
Yeah.
But the culture has to shift. It's going to take decades for that to happen. Because people need to start adopting a different life philosophy to not give this any power. And this is the thing. And this is the theology guy in me. Sin will always exist. And many philosophies that cause destruction have a very obvious sin attached to them. Communism is envy. It's all about taking away from one person and giving it to somebody else. Because supposedly the person who earned it didn't actually earn it. People need to start rejecting all of the tenets of cancel culture, which are rooted in envy, and start adopting what I call creator culture. Be someone devoted to creating new things, whether it's just creating a family or creating art or music or things for people to read, so on and so forth. It's one of those things where if you adopt that, I think that it leads to a more positive life and prevents a lot of strife, culturally speaking. When you have the confidence of somebody who is creating, you'll find that you're a lot happier, and you'll find that you don't really get into arguments or anything like that with people. It's easier to be civil. For example, Ethan and I, we haven't been talking in a while, but I figured he's kind of going his way and doing his own thing. He's got his focus and goals. I have mine, And we got into an argument, and the whole time, never got offended about anything he said. You know why? He's a super successful dude, and I couldn't be happier for him. Because I know how good success feels. He took something I said wrong. It got sorted. Nothing really worth being angry about. Because I'm confident in what I'm doing and what I can do for the future. I mean, fuck, 3 nights, 4 days got 20 grand without Ethan's help. It beat out Inglewood. Inglewood has to make $8,000 on the Second Chance campaign to catch up. So that's just the way it goes. Like it makes creating things and making things better through your actions make you a better person. So, and the other thing is you gotta think on the micro, not on the macro. If you think on the macro, you will never get anything done because you're focusing on a bunch of shit you can't change. You have to focus on your problems first. Once you get that in order, maybe you can help the rest of the world. But likely you won't get the chance to. And there's nothing wrong with that. Chaos Sonic says, what are the other sins that describe the other philosophies other than communism and envy? Well, I would say that Ayn Rand's philosophies would probably be pride. And that's another one that actually needs to go out too. The more I think about Ayn Rand's philosophy, the more I hate it. The more I start to think BioShock was right.
Yep. It's funny because I'm playing through BioShock again now.
And here's the reason why. It sheds you of ethics.
Yes, it does. Fuck you, got mine is not good.
Yeah. So that's generally that's another one that comes up. That's why I'm not a full bore libertarian. I'm just Micah.
Yeah.
You know?
Small L's, not big L's.
Small L libertarian, small C conservative. You know? That's about it. Let's see. Meet Rana wants to know, what do you think about Steve Babin? Do you think he's guilty? Who's Steve Babin?
The guy who doesn't like our videos, apparently. Fucking Steve.
Or Steve Bannon. Is that who you mean?
Oh, yeah. We talked about Steve Bannon last week? Yeah, last week.
Yeah, I'm not sure on him, honestly. You have to wait till more stuff comes out about him.
Yeah.
Let's see here. V-Raptor wants to know, favorite speech during the RNC. His was David Dorn's wife and the old Cuban dude. Me? Probably Nikki Haley.
Who was the governor of South Dakota?
That is a good question.
Kristi Noem.
Yeah.
her speech was excellent. Hers was excellent. I would probably vote for her.
Gosh, she's only 48? That's crazy. What else we got? Let's see here. Melee Brawler says thoughts on the polls showing Dems losing due to the riots. We already covered that. Leonardo Juan says thoughts on people like Seth MacFarlane calling the RNC, calling it white supremacist propaganda. Yes, it's total white supremacist propaganda to have a bunch of non-white people to go up and make speeches about how great America is. Retards.
What do you expect out of them?
Yeah. Let's see here. Hardboiled says, are mail-in ballots going to prove an issue in November, or is the concern about it all going to be settled beforehand? I think it's going to be a state-by-state thing.
Yeah. The only issue that I could see is if there's discrepancies with mail-in voting and then states refuse to certify the results of the elections. That's when it would become a problem.
Yeah.
But if states just said, okay, the only mail-in ballots that we're accepting are absentee ballots, which you do have to provide either a driver's license number or a social security number for, and you have to be the one to sign and validate it. I don't see a problem with those. Absentee ballots have worked before. But again, if you have, 100 million people sending in ballots as opposed to like 4 million, I'd be sweating bullets if I was the USPS right about now.
Yeah. Oh, let's see here. Will Geary says, do you think that not putting term limits in the Constitution was a major oversight by the Founding Fathers?
Yes.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that too.
They did not predict that people would use offices for personal gain and that the offices would become a job. They saw it as a public service that you would get minor compensation for. And you would still, you still had a job to go home to. You still made money outside of, working for the federal government. So yeah, they did not foresee that. And times they were in, yeah, sure, that excuses it, but definitely an oversight. But that's why the Constitution is brilliant, because it can be amended to fix oversights like that.
Exactly. Let's see here. Miguel Barrera's been asking this a lot. He says, thoughts on morality pills becoming a thing to quote-unquote help people throughout the pandemic. Will this raise a bunch of ethical questions? I've never even fucking heard of that.
Morality pills? What the fuck?
That doesn't sound like a thing. Excuse me.
Okay, here we go. A professor proposes morality pills for people who don't wear masks and social distance, perhaps via the water supply. Moral enhancement. How the fuck can that work? This is some Alex Jones shit.
Wow.
He's gonna go back to selling water filters again.
Let me just emphasize real quick that those are the people being paid by our fucking tax dollars. Christ. And on that note, we are an hour in, so we need to go ahead and bring an end to this. Since we've missed overflow twice in a row, we still got to take some questions. So if you did not get a question
Super
answered during the
overflow.
course of the podcast, let us know. We're gonna have a long one. I'll probably lay down for it. So
I'm dying.
yeah,
I'm dying,
other than that,
Squirtle.
we need to take off. We need to go and get the entertainment podcast set up. What we are going to be doing for that is we are just going to chill out, talk about stuff we've been doing lately, talk about the last year, because as it says right below me, it is our 4-year anniversary today.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Oh my god.
or I should say we're entering year 4. So we will be celebrating that by chilling out with you guys. So if you enjoyed this show, hit the like button. Excuse me. And if you're not even subscribed, subscribe to the channel, please. Hatman, who are people tagging for overflow questions?
I guess tag me.
There you go.
Yeah, overflow me.
Yep.
Fuck. I'm dying still.
Definitely smash that like button like I would smash Meg Turney if she ever offered. So
Jesus Christ.
So we'll be back in about 15 minutes or so with the entertainment podcast. But until then, my name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, and I'm apparently laughing at a water filter salesman.
Yes. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you soon. It is fall.